Hey, everybody, and welcome to another edition of KnoxvilleDirtDigest.com. Mike Roberts along for the ride, broadcasting from the National Sprint Car Hall of Fame Museum Library. Make sure you check out the library and the rest of the museum when you come in town for this week's 360 Nationals and, of course, the Capitani Classic, and, of course, the 60th annual running of the NOS Energy Drink Knoxville Nationals presented by Casey's. We got John McCoy, the race director from Knoxville Raceway, coming up next on KnoxvilleDirtDigest.com.
Tired of doing this? Get a can of this and spend more time doing this. Seafoam helps engines start easier, run smoother, and last longer. Seafoam. Seafoam! Help your engine run smoother and last longer with Seafoam motor treatment. Just pour it in. Seafoam works to clean your fuel system, clean your oil system, and stabilizes fuel up to 2 years. Make the proven choice. Seafoam motor treatment. Available everywhere automotive products are sold.
The best Wing 410 sprint car drivers in the world will converge on the Southern Iowa Speedway for the 26th annual Sage Fruit Front Row Challenge. The Champions Belt is up for grabs on Monday, August the 9th. See who will win the $20,000 cash prize. There will be slide jobs and all the side-by-side action you can handle. So get your tickets online at oskichallenges.com or by calling 515-957-0020.
Welcome back to KnoxvilleDirtDigest.com. John McCoy with us right now, and all sorts of things. I really and truly just wanted to talk to you about promoting this week and next week, but thanks to everybody else's sanctions and some other things going on, we're going to talk about rules, regulations, and some things that have been going on. But let's talk about 360 action first of all. I got to admit, I was a little bit worried about car count, but we got a lot of 360s coming this week.
Yeah, we do. Looks like the number's going to be right back where it's been in the past 5-6 years.
Yeah. And again, with all the craziness we went through last year, I was just nervous about that. But judging by the traffic in town, ticket sales should be good too, I hope. And a lot of campers rolling in. It's exciting times for Knoxville again.
Yeah, we always used to say, you know, it kicked off with the 360 Nationals, but it really kind of starts kicking off now with the Weiler's night
right.
the week before. So what a great race and a great track we had that night.
Let's talk about Weiler night, because I tracked you down that day and I said two things that I woke up this morning knowing. One is I'm glad I'm not John McCoy. We'll just talk about that because we got 4 inches of rain overnight Friday night last week into a huge night. I mean, the All-Star Show is a big night. Weiler, a great partner in this racing industry we have right now, great local company, and a lot of rain to deal with. And I got to be honest with you, and I said it on the microphone last week, I would have called it. But you guys stuck it out, and what a fabulous race. Great crowd. Everything just hit.
Yeah, it was. You know, we got lucky. We always do. We don't always get lucky. The rain came overnight on a day that we ended up getting sunshine. I mean, there was a lot of consternation down at the back pit gate trying to decide what to do because number one thing is safety, and it's not just race cars on the track. It's moving ambulances around. It's fire trucks around. It's the infield has to be completely usable, and I just didn't see it coming, but. We come real close to canceling, and then we ran a tractor around in the infield, and we did see some drying. And you know what? We kind of have a 3-person vote on that, and you know, because I want consensus if we do anything also. So
sure.
We decided to shoot for it, and luckily the sun come out. I would point out that if you get one of those in the afternoon, you're absolutely done. There's just no way. And a lot of people say, well, we don't try for one night, and we did this one. Well, everything worked out. We had sunshine. We had heat. You'd never get away with that in April.
I can remember you guys talking about, if we just had sun, it was like 15 minutes later, all of a sudden, clouds parted, sun came out. Mm-hmm. I don't know who was praying that hard, but it worked out pretty good. Talk about that race a little bit. It was a hell of a battle. Kerry Matson ended up winning the thing, but it had 3 or 4 guys up there. Gio was up there for a little bit. Spencer, man, did he impress me last week? Yeah,
it was the track. I mean, everybody said, everybody worked hard, and, well, I worked the least, but the truth is it all starts coming together with all the push trucks that show up and help us. And then, of course, Duncan's, everybody knows them, and they're going to do everything they can. When they committed to doing it, it's all hands on deck. So that's how you get things done, and you ended up with a racetrack that was beautiful.
Now, we got 360 starting tonight. Again, a huge national event for us. A lot of cars, a lot of fans start rolling in, and it just trickles in more and more throughout the weekend. I couldn't pick who's going to win. You used to be able to say, okay, it's going to be one of 3 guys, but this 360 competition is second to none on a weekly basis, and now we're inviting the rest of them in.
Yeah, should be really interesting. It always is. 360 races or Nationals are great racing every night. I wouldn't even begin to pick who was going to win.
Yeah. We got to open up this bag of worms, if you will, because social media lit up with it for the last almost 24 hours. Then last night, the World of Outlaws did a press release on it. Aaron Reitzel, the big talk of the town, and most people have read the press release, but if you haven't, check out World of Outlaws Sprint Cars on their website there. They've got the whole breakdown of it, including the violations of rules, what the fines were. I will tell you, jokingly, that Terry McCarl called me last night, and he was upset because up until Reitzel, he held the biggest fine with the World of Outlaws. And as I told him, take the loss. It'll be okay. So $10,000 fine. And 30 days from July 31st until he can compete. He has until the 28th of August to pay the fine. I got to admit, and this is why I invited you on, because you are so good at explaining safety rules to me and everybody else. $10,000, that's a huge fine. That's a big hit.
Well, of course, that's the World of Outlaws made those decisions,
Sure.
and I support them. Listen, it's a serious thing when I think the lightning that they did in the place they did it in the roll cage, for criminy sake, or one of the uprights, is just totally ridiculous. But they don't realize, I don't think. And number one, I like Aaron. I've never had a problem with Aaron. I think he's a great racer. So I'll get that out of the way. It isn't, and I know he's put outlaw people in a lot of hard spots that they have to come back, because when you remove that sticker and you put it back on a car that's already been disqualified or is wrong, then that's just circumventing the whole thing. That sticker only really is a safety precaution to check the chassis standards that was set years ago, and we still use them to control costs. And nobody has the right to start changing those. We've had areas where there has been we've found, and we've said, okay, like a butt bar, and I know nobody really knows what that is. They're not places where it's going to have major impact of cage failure, but the butt bar is a very important bar. It wouldn't be in there. But I'm just saying maybe a left side bar diagonal or something that had a thin spot or some other issue. We've let that go for one night and get it fixed. It's not a competition thing, but I understand that this is a competition thing, and it's led by people who really don't have much regard for the safety of the drivers, because if everybody started doing it, we'd be right back in the old 49 bottom frame rail days and hurting people really bad.
I go back to the 18 Kodiak car, Les Kepler. That thing, all I had to do was do a Tommy tip over, and it was totaled.
Right. So that's all that stuff started, and Outlaws and ourselves, we worked all together to try to come up with the manufacturers at the time with the numbers that they felt was substantial in areas, and we've had to make additions, speeds, a lot of other things added together. They call them the gravel bars, and it's a great addition, and all of those things, and we never stop. But we don't go the other way. I don't remember we've ever said that you could take a safety piece and make it less safe. That would not be a very smart thing, and it puts the tracks and the organizations, series in a lot of trouble if somebody got hurt.
I meant to say this at the beginning of this conversation, and I'll say it right now. I did run into Aaron Reitzel last night. Invite him to be on the show to give his side of it. Part of this press release you'll see is he's not allowed to do anything social media-wise on some of their stuff with the World of Outlaws, and he pleasantly declined. He was appreciative for me giving the opportunity to be on, but he's not allowed to talk about it right now. So, again, he's not dodging the bullet. He owned it. He admitted to it. I didn't know the piece of the frame until just now, and I don't understand that at all.
Well,
there's different places to play that game, I guess, if you're going to try and cheat.
That's you know what? Maybe I misspoke. That's what I think it is.
Okay.
Most of the teams have not most. There's people in the sport that always think they're smarter than anybody else, and they've told people that lightening up in these areas to give the chassis more flex and do some things, and those people really shouldn't be listened to.
Right.
They're violating the rules. So I don't know what else it would have been that would have raised this much seriousness, but I'm pretty sure it was something to do in that roll cage area.
I never will understand violation of rules when it comes to safety. And so much has been done. I'm 24 seasons working for Knoxville Raceway now. So much has been done in that 24 years. Stops, tethers, Again, the tubing on the roll cage, Hahn's device, the seats themselves. I mean, there's a purpose for doing this stuff, and it's not to be a jerk. It's not to be I'm the promoter and I can make all the rules I want. It's safety.
Exactly.
Why do they want to shortcut that?
Oh, I don't know. It's I can't answer that at all.
I don't care how much flex you get. I guess. I mean, it doesn't. If you're going to try and be creative somewhere else. I mean, they can't get away with it in the engines anymore. They've figured that out eventually. But it is what it is. Moving on to this thing, All Stars have also recognized this violation and stated that he's not allowed to race with them during this penalty. We have the Nationals next week. I don't know if we call this fully sanctioned or partially sanctioned World of Outlaws, but World of Outlaws are sanctioned in this event. So he's not allowed to race the Nationals, even if he gets his own car.
Right.
Yeah.
No, it's a World of Outlaws sanctioned event.
Right. So that being said, he's parked on the sidelines for a little bit. Roth was also fined. I haven't had an opportunity to reach out to those guys yet. I can't imagine they're too happy. They're allowed to race as soon as they pay their penalties, and it sounds like that PPM is going to be in the car for this weekend anyway. I'm hearing rumors on what next week is, so we'll verify that rumor. I got to make a call to California and find out if he is coming or not, but we'll talk about that on tomorrow's show. Since we got rules in the old mix here, 360s, we talked about it earlier, and the competition is crazy. And now we're changing things, or they're trying to change things, or ASCS has changed things. Aluminum blocks. What's the thinking here? Because all I see is a lot of checks being written. I mean, that's my first gut instinct.
Well, it's been brought up before, and it's definitely been brought up in a intelligent format of saying, what is some of the reasons that the blocks we have now are expensive,
right?
And repairability is not there if they get broken or crash, which sometimes is not there in the aluminum either. But all of those things added up, I think, are good. I think it's either something that's a little late coming on board, or it's too restrictive. I've been talking to racers every 360 that I can get. I've got officials talking to them. We've asked for responses with no names. We've asked for everything, and the general consensus is people don't want to do it. I think, they all wish, well, if it would have been initiated that way, we would probably be ahead of the game. And I know it went on in 410s, but
right.
I don't know. We're going to try to get together with Emmett this week, but we haven't. We've had a race committee meeting, and there was no decisions made because we also fear that we don't want to drive people out of the sport, and we feel they're going to have to junk. Oh, no, they'll be able to use it. Well, who's really going to buy it? I mean,
right.
I don't know of any other groups that's come out and said they're doing it, and I'm afraid that they may put themselves on an island. So I don't know what they're doing. I would thought that we'd had some conversation before now with teams and them and saying, this is some more stuff that's come up, but we haven't, and I'm hoping this week we will. But as of right now, we have not made any decisions.
Now, this rule is something they pulled the trigger on a couple months ago, right? Like May or something they first started pushing it out?
Yeah, approximately.
Yeah. So I guess my thing is, and I haven't read the rule, I'll be the first one to say it, but are they going to incorporate this rule for next year for everything they do ASCA sanction-wise? And what about our guys? I mean, the first thing I'm thinking is horsepower. How much difference is it?
Well, I don't know if there's a measurable horsepower difference. I don't know that. It's basically just the weight, location in the chassis. And, of course, they're saying they would add weight into the chassis, which makes my ears pick up. We already got guys adding weight. I don't like adding weight anywhere.
Yeah.
Then there's no bracket strong enough to really support weight, other than maybe the motor plate, and I've seen them fall off. So I don't know. I can't answer any of those questions. I think it was just an easy ask for us to say, do you want to allow aluminum blocks? And that hasn't been met with a positive reaction.
I know you guys said the race committee hasn't made a decision. You're going to get in conversation about this week, but this particular Nationals is ASCS sanctioned as well, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. If you can't reach an agreement, what happens? I mean, it's the Knoxville Nationals. I know we're going to hold it for the 360s.
Well, yeah, no, I mean,
But how do you balance both ends? I guess.
well, that is the issue. So,
Yeah.
I'm guaranteeing you, their teams. Not everybody's going to sell all their steel motors because I don't know where they're going to go.
Yeah.
And we don't even know the availability of the aluminum blocks.
That was my
And,
next question because I mean, look at the nightmare we're having right now.
and it needs to start now. So,
Yeah.
Like I said, we'll probably know more after discussion this week.
We talked about the availability. Let's switch gears a little bit. Tires. That's been a roller coaster all year long. Nothing that we're doing, nothing that the racers are doing, nothing that Hoosier's doing. It's I've heard rubber shortage. I've heard labor shortage. I think anybody that's been anywhere in this world understands the labor shortage. I mean, going to a restaurant anywhere.
Right.
When does that catch up? I personally can't see it catching up even next year.
I don't really know.
Yeah.
I know that it seems like we're going to be in this cost rising period, and it's going to really have a heavy effect on racers and fans. It's the fans that's the generator of all the money that the tracks are be able to pay out to the racer and so on. And the fans are the most important thing we have, and sponsors. So, I mean, I am concerned these tire prices won't be driven up by Hoosier per se themselves. It'll be driven up by the product, lack of
Supply and demand.
help. And so
Yeah.
it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough in every aspect of the sport.
Is this something where eventually, and I don't know how long our deal is with Hoosier, is this something that we start looking at allowing all tire manufacturers to be a part of dirt track racing here again, just to keep up with tires, or is it that bad?
Well, I don't know if it's that bad. I don't know if
Right.
anybody else is making tires either. I don't think that's ever been in the thought processes here. Hoosier's been a great partner
Yes.
with us, and I listen to every complaint about every car part made, but Hoosier's always been pretty satisfactory in our opinion, and it's a tough business and a tough thing to make. And no, I don't think there would be anything to opening up the tires today if we want to continue to make the relationships and the things that our local racers benefit from.
Mm-hmm. Explain that benefit for those that, I mean, again, I'm on the other side of this thing, so I get it. But when you say the benefit, explain that to the listeners.
Well, every 410 racer, except this year, is usually guaranteed, 4 or 5 right rears purchased through an agreement with Hoosier and the Fair Board.
Mm-hmm.
The Fair Board goes along with it to get a really good deal.
Right.
I'll say that on tires. And
Yep.
then we try to save 1 tire a year, maybe 2 for the 360 class. And we try to find outside sponsorship for the Pace Series so they get 1. And it's been a great deal. I mean, if you add that up for every 410 points car.
Mm-hmm.
And this year, because of the shortages, we've only been able to use, we didn't use them all last year, so we used some of those tires. And I hope we can get it made back up. But
Right.
there's points money Hoosier pays, and it goes directly to the teams. It's not all advertising money, is one way or the other goes to the teams and after expenses. And so that's a definite points fund amount that running and competing with Hoosier does.
And we have one of the highest paying purses as far as points are concerned, too, at the end of the season than any track. I mean, it's just unbelievable, the effort that everybody goes and hands on deck there. You mentioned Pace, and although we're not going to see them until the end of the season now, with the schedule being the way it is.
Saturday night.
Oh, it is a Saturday night. Yeah, I forgot about that. Good. Thank you for correcting me on that. This Saturday night, you'll see them. That group, and I'll say it, you took a beating when Knoxville Raceway decided to get rid of 305s in general and picked up this Pace Performance engine. But I got to say flat out, that's been some, A, great racing, and B, as soon as I say this weekend, there'll be 2 or 3 of them pop. You don't see them pop. I mean, maybe 1 or 2 a year.
Yeah, I mean, listen, it was a no-brainer. If we can't, I mean, I jokingly, so I always say Knoxville Raceway, we're sprint car heaven. You know, I tell people that we don't have other support classes. We know our fans like sprint cars. We try to put on some other races to satisfy those, other fans to come to Knoxville. But
Absolutely.
Our weekly show stays with that. And the Pace Series was Don Blackshear kind of brought that to us, and Mike Profit kind of ran with it. And then we phased it in, and we ended up at it because it just makes sense.
Sure.
And it's one of those things that it's a neat engine. It's all aluminum. There you go.
Yeah.
Aluminum heads. It's a 376 engine, but it's restricted so it doesn't tear itself up, and tries to get a couple of years out of a rebuild on those, which is unheard of in any others.
I think it's a great starter division. I think it's a great retirement division, if you will. Joe Beaver, again, we talked about motor shortages. He popped a 360 earlier this year, a couple months ago now, I think it is. He started racing in that Pace series because his kid had an extra motor, I think it was. But anyway, whatever it was, he raced like 4 weeks, maybe 5, and just picked up his first win the other night. Mm-hmm. And he'll be the first one to say that class is not easy to race with.
No.
It's racing.
I think the drivers are beginning there, and they learn to race. The speeds are the same as the 410 cars were back in the late 80s, early 90s. So it's worked well for us. And like you said, yeah, if 3 of them broke, it's still any racing engine's going to break.
Right.
You can't build it. They still don't start out in the hole so deep. And I'm not have nothing against engine builders, and the rest of the sport, they survive very well on that. But we just felt the cost of the 305s were getting out of hand for a $600 to win race.
Right. Does this move up into other classes? This sealed motor?
Well, they definitely could. I mean, but they'd have to when they somewhat got replaced. We ran them with the 305s for a year or two.
Right.
And, they're so restricted, but they are bigger cubic inch. But I don't think we would take that approach in the other classes. I would think we would just try to come up with maybe some other benefit to a regular-sized engine. But possibly, I think there's some groups allowing these 376 engines of Pace. It's actually not going to be Pace anymore after this year, but
yeah.
Letting this Chevy CT 525 engine run with them, take the restrictor out and run with them. And that's an interesting thing that's coming around.
You mentioned we try to satisfy other fans. One of the things we did earlier this year, actually a couple things. Tony Stewart, SRX guys, he won that race. And then NASCAR Trucks. Both coming back? Do we know yet?
Don't know yet.
Okay.
Those were late additions to the schedule last year.
Right.
And people have to move around a lot of stuff to make that work. And I think there's some moving around this year, definitely on the truck side. And we definitely don't want to lose any 410 shows and want to make that weekend work. And the SRX, I don't know. I think their idea maybe isn't to run at the same tracks every year. Didn't talk to him much about it. And I liked the heck out of talking with Ray Everham. And,
yeah, that guy's knowledgeable. I mean, I enjoy interviewing him all the time and just sitting back and talking with him. One thing I will say, and Fox FS1 did a great job. CBS did a fantastic job of promoting not just Knoxville Raceway, but the entire town of Knoxville. I mean, they went above and beyond. Both networks did. I did find out, Wally told me this the other night, that 2 of the producers or guys with CBS that was up in the suites or whatever, they bought Nationals tickets. They're coming next week because they want to see what it's like for Nationals.
Yeah, that's cool. And what a great bunch of fans we had that came to that got exposed to Knoxville for the first time, both events.
Right.
But we would have had, I think, a great crowd for our non-wing show. I was excited at the fact that the number of people we had that at least would come in and bought tickets or said they were staying. But
right.
Mother Nature didn't treat us well enough for that.
Well, yeah, you could tell by the campers that were still left in town from the night before. I mean, these folks were staying for the duration. The weekend was going to be great. And you brought up non-wings. You and I, that's our history. That's our bread and butter. We love non-wing racing. But it seems like we just have trouble getting that ball rolling. Mother Nature or anything seems to play an effect on this. Are we going to move forward? Is that scheduled for next year already?
You know what? I haven't had a chance to talk with Levi and Spridge on that, and we're always open to one of those shows. It's right. It's just like something's against us on that weekend,
yeah.
And I don't know what else to do about it. I'd rather have them. You can't pick the weather on any given day.
No, you can't.
So we'll see.
Yeah,
everybody's asking for the schedule now. I said, well, you got it out earlier than it ever was last year. I don't know how we could get it out any earlier because there's a lot of things we got to check. We don't want to step on other tracks, and they don't want to step on us. And in the Midwest here, and all over the country, it's getting to be. We all got to be supportive of big races and stuff.
Well, we had Doug Johnson on last week, in fact, and Todd's doing big things with Houston's right now, and still has Jackson, but they've got 360s racing up there, big weekend. They've got the USAC Nationals coming up there for them. Matt Wood's part of that deal. how important, and you say we're scheduling with other tracks, how important is it to keep Midwest racing, not just for Knoxville Raceway, but all other tracks in the Midwest going? Because you and I have both seen this. We've lost a ton of tracks in the last 30 years. They've flipped ownerships, they've retired, whatever, or just plain went broke. How do you keep that alive?
Well, it is tough, and it is trying to work together. And, the big races, I know some tracks can't do that. And there's tracks that feel like they're being pounded on because they think Fair Board's got money. No, they don't. I mean, they earn their money hard like anybody else. The racetrack earns its money, and if it loses money, it loses, and that hurts.
Right.
So I don't know how to help them stay in business. I don't know how to help them develop a big weekend. But the only way it's going to happen is we either don't race or we don't race that class or we do something. But we can't take off every Saturday night either.
Well, and something else you guys do, and you work with Todd and Doug on, is Henderson just picked it up. Matt Jewell had a chance at getting it here a couple weeks ago. If you win the track on the night before, you come down here and win, you get a bonus.
Yeah.
Do you see a lot more of that happening between tracks?
Well, that's a unique thing. That's a great deal put on by Greg Parent of Midwest Power Series, and he just loves racing,
Right.
and he loves being part of the races out there and here, and he supports that extra money. Which look at our extra money from I know Alan hates it when I say it, but he organized this deal and he gets all these. I don't know how he does it, gets these guys, but I think it helps when they know their money's going to the racer.
Right.
It's not. There's no commission to the track. There's no commission to anybody, and it's put right in the purse. And we try to work with that all we can to stretch that out.
Well, and Al's a hustler and a shaker. I mean, his passion is unreal.
Yeah,
I mean,
I know.
Heck, he's moved to Knoxville even.
And yeah. So, no, it is a big deal. It is to try to support weekly racing because, we wouldn't have 100 cars here this weekend if it wasn't for our weekly show.
Right.
And I can't add much more to that.
Exactly right. And you mentioned, that extra money that these sponsors put into, and Midwest did that. They actually paid Henderson. The deal was Jewell had to win. But Henderson put on such a great show, they gave him the $3,000 on top of it.
Yep. Of course, that's entirely his to do what he wants it to with. But,
exactly.
Just a great individual.
And got a half beef. He won the 360 thing, got the half hog. I have yet to get an invitation for dinner.
Yeah, me either.
I don't know. We may have to penalize you for that. I'm kidding. All right. You've got to go to work. I've got to go to work. We got a big week lined up. And for all the other information as far as Knoxville Raceway is concerned, you can call them, but we encourage you to go to KnoxvilleRaceway.com. Everything you want to know is up there. Follow us on Twitter when that comes regard to that, to Knoxville Raceway as well. John, you've got a heck of a week ahead of you. I hope you don't have to stress over anything, but we all know that's BS. It's going to happen. So appreciate you coming on.
Okay. Thank you, guys.
That's going to wrap it up for KnoxvilleDirtDigest.com. We'll see you tomorrow.
Tired of doing this? Get a can of this and spend more time doing this. Seafoam helps engines start easier, run smoother, and last longer. Seafoam. Seafoam! Help your engine run smoother and last longer with Seafoam motor treatment. Just pour it in. Seafoam works to clean your fuel system, clean your oil system, and stabilizes fuel up to 2 years. Make the proven choice. Seafoam motor treatment. Available everywhere automotive products are sold.
The best Wing 410 sprint car drivers in the world will converge on the Southern Iowa Speedway for the 26th annual Sage Fruit Front Row Challenge. The champion's belt is up for grabs on Monday, August the 9th. See who will win the $20,000 cash prize. There will be slide jobs and all the side-by-side action you can handle. So get your tickets online at oskichallenges.com or by calling 515-957-0020.